Okay, lesson 2, we learn about Oracle VM web services. Well, we have these objectives. After completing this lesson, you should be able to explain the role of Oracle VM web services. We used to do exactly the same stacks that we do with Oracle VM Manager user interface. So we're going to describe the REST interface of the Oracle VM web services. When you work with web services, mainly you have two protocols, REST and SWAP. SWAP is deprecated, much like specified in the Oracle VM server release 3.4. So this is why we put focus on REST in the REST interface, right? It's called RESTful, so we can interchange REST or RESTful name for this interface. We're going to learn how to use simple coding examples with the REST interface. We put focus on the Python programming interface to show you how to list some of these examples, but also I will show you in the documentation, for example, how to use Java. How to locate and navigate the Oracle VM web services software development kit file, the SDK. The SDK comes with the Oracle VM Manager software. I saw image, so it's very nice for you to get access to the software development kit file. To unzip the file, you get the documentation with the description of the APA procedures and parameters and calls, right? And in addition to these, so very nice examples. Well, about Oracle VM web services, web service provides you a programmable way to interact with an application across HTTP or HTTPS protocols. What web services were created, mind with the way that to simplify the access to information, or the way that you should be able to manage and administer components remotely. So at the end we have, remember, the Oracle VM Manager or Management Core. This is a Java application in our logic server, giving us the infrastructure to be able to invoke some web services calls to perform administration tasks, right? So the Oracle VM web services expose an APA, an application programming interface that you can use to build applications with any programming language that it supports, much like Python, Java, Microsoft.NET, and so on, to view, create, update, and remove objects in your Oracle VM environment. Well, the way that we use this APA, okay, you see that all the functionality that is available with the Oracle VM Manager user interface is exposed through the Oracle VM Web Services APA. So you can create programs with this APA to perform the following tasks: automating configuration, monitoring and notification, and triggering behaviors. So with using any other programming language, you should be able to create desktop applications or web applications that you could interact with this application, and in this way this application invoke it calls to this APA in the management core Java application in the management server of the Oracle VM server to help you to perform all of these administration tasks, right? And the best of this is that the Oracle VM Web Service APA is language agnostic. So what I mean is that we use a plain protocol or encrypted protocol, the HTTP or HTTPS. So we have, as you know, for most of the programming languages, libraries that work with this agnostic protocol. In addition to this, you have the option to use web browsers to do it short, right, and so on. And we need to select the REST as the preferred programming language and a web service interface. I repeat, we have the option to use SWAP, but SWAP is deprecated in the new release, in the release 3.4. And Oracle VM provides a software development kit to help you to build applications. Well, you get document, for example, how to use Java or Python to deploy your applications, okay, to build your applications, to be able to create these management applications, right? Well, about the REST web services protocol, the REST APIs use different HTTP methods or verbs to trigger actions on an object. So with these methods, we include GET, for example, to retrieve information. You can list information about servers, you can get information about VMs, about repositories, and so on. POST, which is a method that helps you to create new objects. For example, you are able to create a new virtual machine from cloning from a template. For example, you are able to create a new middleware infrastructure for your VMs, a new virtual machine middleware with this role. Path is for updating, modifying information. You could modify a VM, for example, some of the parameters, much like adding additional virtual disks or adding additional LANs, right, dynamically. And delete, that is for destroying, for removing a component that you have created previously. Well, the way that we create the request using this method, so the object is referenced by using a URI, a Universal Resource Indicator, that identifies it. So in this example, you see that we use the encrypted protocol, HTTPS. We need to provide the name of the Oracle VM Manager host. The port, remember by default, is 7002. And after that, we need to provide this virtual path, the OVM core WSAPA REST. After that, we provide any object type, much like server pool, virtual machine, and so on. And you see that, for example, because we have multiple servers, each server is identified by a unique universal identifier, each object, right? So we need to provide a universal unique identifier. If we create this call, this reference, what we do is to send a get message. Get method, right? So with the get method, we list or we get the information. The parameters required by the method are usually contained in the body of the HTTP request in a parsable format. Well, this these parsable formats that supported are typically XML or JSON. So this is the internet media type used for parameters or, for example, for response objects. So when you send information, or when you get information, you are requesting information, typically you need to send or request the information in these formats. Well, you need to provide this XML and JSON as the internet media type. Typically in the request that you send, in the header, you have the accept and the content type methods, right? So, or attributes. So it's much like, as you know, with the internet protocol, and the World Wide Web Consortium is responsible to maintain and establish the standard, the HTTP standard. So in the HTTP standard, remember you have a request and a response. Each request and a response has a header and a body, and for example, a status code. So in the header, you need to provide specific attributes, and in the request, one of these attributes is the accept and content type that you should provide application/JSON, or for example, application-XML, is to specify which format you send the parameters when you are, for example, would want to get information or to post information, and when you want to retrieve the result of the operation, okay, you also have the option to get the formats in this way. Well, JSON and XML, as you know, are formats that are used to exchange information between both sides, right? And for example, when you get information with XML or JSON, it's easy for you to create applications that are able to parse the content and to visualize in other formats, much like in HTML format, or for example, to store in a database in a table or something like this, right? And you see, you specify the format in the headers of the HTTP request. Well, first of all, before requesting information, or before modifying or creating objects, you need to get authenticated. The same way that you do, for example, using the manager user interface or the Oracle VM CLI, the command line interface, you need to get authenticated with any other programming language that is using the REST API, Web Services API, right? So for authentication, remember that it's used or it's achieved by using the HTTP basic authentication. So you need to submit the username and password using this base64 encoded format, and you need to provide this combination of username and password in the HTTP authorization header of your request. Well, after you get authenticated, you provide the correct username and password. You create a season in the OVM Manager Management Core Java application, and it creates a cookie that is sent to you. right? So you need to store this cookie. For example, if you use a web browser, you store the cookie in the web browsers, or if you use any other programming language, you need to be able to store this cookie and to be used the next invocations, the next time you request information or you are modifying or creating objects, right? When you use Python, for example, you can take advantage of a library such as, for example, the request library. Because with this library, it's very simple to set up a session to handle authentication, including this encoding username and password. After that, also, you are able to update headers and perform a basic request. Well, you have some nice examples later in this lesson. And if you use Java, as you know, you have the option to create an HTTP session to store the cookie and to be working with the cookie, all right? Following slides show you some examples. What's happening if you want to request information, you want to query, okay, you want to get information of, for example, servers and their attributes. Well, this example, you use Python. In Python, I repeat, you typically need to use the Python request library. This is why in this Python script, this example for this Python script, we import the request. Well, after that, okay, with the request, we create a new object, which is a session. The session is empty. So what I mean is that we have not get authenticated yet. So after we are going to get authenticated, the session is populated with a cookie, all right, that is created for us. After that, in the session, we provide the username and password. You see, we use the admin user and the password, all right? And after that, we, for the session, update the headers, right? You see the session is an object that it contains header, also it contains body, for example, right, and so on. So with the headers, we say that we accept this format, okay, application JSON, and this is the same for the content type. So because it's a get, it's a request, is for getting information, it's a query, okay, the output that is sent by the server is in this JSON format, right? And after that, you see that we need to provide a base URI. Well, the base URI makes reference to OVM, core, the WS, API, REST. So with this headers update, what we do is to get authenticated, right? So with the S object, they make reference to the session object, right? The S variable. Okay, now we have the cookie stored in the session, all right? In addition to this, in the session, we have specified which is the format with which we want to communicate with the server. And now what we do is to get the specific object information. In this case, we say server. So what it does is to list of the different servers, right? Well, this is stored in this other variable, the R. So this R variable is stored all the servers with all the attributes for these servers in JSON format. So then what we do is to print this object with this JSON format, right? You see, it's very simple and easy to use, and this is the way that we create the scripts. We are able to automate the process of, for example, retrieving information. So we could create custom Python scripts and to invoke, okay, much like a system administrator, to list information of the servers at any time, that right, and so on. Well, the other one is, for example, what's happening if we want to create an object. In this case, we want to create a network object. Well, as you see, that is something similar. First of all, what we have already, for example, get authenticated, right? But we need to import, for example, this other library, the JSON library, basically because we want to send a request, okay, with this format. Remember the web services that we have in the management core process, Java application, right? It supports XML or JSON. So we need to provide exactly with this format. With data is the object in which basically you have a literal value in JSON format. So it's the name of the network and the description. You see that we haven't provided additional information, much like in which servers, which ports or bonded ports or virtual LAN ports we are going to use to create the network, which are the IP address and so on. We only create the network, right? And we create this other variable, this other object, URI, in which we say the base. Base is exactly the same as before, no? Is the HTTPS server host for the manager 7002/OVM/core /web services API /REST. That's right. And after that, we say /network. For this network, we format this base URI. That's right. And in addition to this, what we do that is, for example, you see in the request we send this URI and the data object. Okay, so you see that the data object is this one, and we dumps the data, right? And after that, we print the request output. Basically, it's to show us that the network was created successfully or not. Well, so you are able, for example, to use VM variables in this script with Python and to automate the process of creating multiple, for example, networks using loops, right, and so on. Well, about these examples, but getting more detail how to perform this, you have the Web Services API Software Development Kit. Remember, you get access to this with the Oracle VM Manager ISO image. So you have the lib directory, we have libraries, the web services description language, the documentation, and source. In the documentation, you have API, you have an index, an HTML page that shows us, for example, the RESTful or swap reference for this API and the web services. That's right. Also, you have in the source code of this API. In the library, you have the Java libraries. In the documentation, also you have examples that run and so on. Well, the way that you get this, you see, is after you unzip or something like this, you get access to, for example, network resources. It shows us how to identify network by ID, network with Ethernet ports, how to list virtual NICs, and so on. Well, I'm going to show you this with the remote environment. To show you an example, I'm going to get access to the remote environment. Remember, in the remote environment, we have the Linux desktop. We open a terminal. And you need to get logged, for example, as root. You provide the password. Well, here, remember, at the beginning, we have, for example, these VMs. Okay, they are running. So we have the VM for the Oracle VM Manager. Right? If we get access to the Oracle VM Manager as root, remember the password for root in the manager is Oracle, right? Well, here you have the stage directory in which we have the ISO image for the Oracle VM Manager software. So we are able, for example, to mount this OVM ISO image into, for example, the man directory. So now here in the mount directory, we have the zipped file in which we have the SD key, the software development kit. Well, what I'm going to do is, because I already know that it's here, and this is the file, I'm going to copy this. I'm going to get out from this one, and I'm gonna take out from this. So with this user, for example, I'm going to copy into this directory. Okay, so now I have the SD key here in this directory, so I'm going to unzip the OVM. Okay, so I have the dock and so on. So if we go to applications, internet, Firefox, in the Firefox, we are able to open a file, and we go to doc, APA, and we choose the index.html. So here you have the reference for the SOAP or RESTful. So you may click here in this specification, okay, you get access to the reference. So for show you an example about working with servers. For the server reference, okay, you see that you get, for example, the server itself, the server, for example, to discover, configuring access group for X86, for example, access to external storage, to create infinity groups, to work with clusters. So for example, for network, if you may click here, you see you need to provide the server ID, and the network. And which are the commands? For example, post is to create a new local network, and the parameters that it supports, the request body and the response body. Another one is to get information. That's right. So this is the way. In addition to this, you have in Internet Explorer, in the documentation, you have the Oracle VM Web Services API Developer Guide. So in addition to this document, if you open this other, you should get information about, for example, what's new with the new version. And for example, I'm sorry, this is the CLI, the Web Services API, this one. So you get what's new, that's right, the overview. And for example, how to use, how to get authenticated, how to specify the internet media, and example codes. So about listing servers, you see we have Java or Python. With Python, it shows us, okay, for example, how to use it. That's right. Well, it's both documents you need to use, okay, to reinforce the way that, for example, we use a RESTful Web Services API with Python or with Java, and to know exactly which are the different options. Well, that's true that, for example, with Mozilla Firefox, you are able to install a plugin that is able to modify the headers, so you are able to provide, for example, for authentication, and after that, when you send a post, the name of the object, you are creating a new network description and additional attributes that are documented in these HTML web pages, right? I showed you before. But in addition to this, also for Python requests, for example, or for Java, you are able to get detailed description of exactly how to create an attributes object, how to create an object, how to post or to query the information, that right, and so on. When this quiz, when creating a REST request to the Oracle VM WS API, which HTTP verb will you choose to create a new network? Well, remember, creating, all right? So creating is post, right? New doesn't exist, is not valid, build is not valid, and pat, it should be valid, all right? It's correct, it should be post and pat, but typically pat is much like to update, all right? So the best implementation is to use post. So you see, it basically is the solve. This is a brief lesson. You have very nice, very interesting practices to learn how to use a RESTful Web Services API with Python programming language. So in this lesson, you should have learned to explain the role of the Oracle VM Web Services, to describe the REST interface of the Oracle VM Web Services, use some simple coding examples, much like get or post that I showed before, and to locate and navigate the Oracle VM Web Services SDK file. That's all for this lesson. In practice 2.1, set up your environment to use the Oracle VM Services API with RESTful Web Services. In this practice, you install an add-on called Modify Header for Mozilla Firefox in your OVM mgr01.example.com host. With this add-on, you can set your HTTP request headers to perform basic authentication from your browser when accessing the Oracle VM Web Services API with RESTful services. So for task 1, we log in to your lab machine as root, and we start an VNC viewer season to OVM mgr01.example.com using the xm VNC viewer command. So we type this command and we get the VNC viewer display, we get the remote display for the OVM manager server. We press return on the initial screen, and if is needed, we need to click on the not listed if we are not able to view the root login, right? But now we have a root, so we need to enter the password. We type Oracle, we may click on unlock, and we get the display, right? Well, here we should have the remote desktop for the OVM manager host. And remember, if we go to applications, we should have access to Firefox web browser, Mozilla Firefox web browser. We may click there. So Firefox window opens on your lab machine. Note that if you get a message about Firefox already running, perform the following step: log out of your active Oracle VM Manager user interface season, close the Firefox window, and redo step 2. When step number 5, if necessary, we set the browser to display the Firefox menu bar by right mouse clicking on the area next to the tab and selecting the menu bar from the context menu. Well, we already are viewing the menu bar. Also, we are able to press the Alt key to show us, right? Well, after we view the menu bar, we access the add-ons manager window by selecting add-ons from the tools menu as shown here. So we have tools, the add-ons menu option. So we get this other tab, add-ons manager. So in the step number 7, in the add-ons manager window, we click the tools drop-down list in the window and select install add-on from file. So we have add-ons, and in this tools drop-down list, we have install add-on from file. Well, step number 8, in the select add-on to install window, we click file system in the navigation pane. Okay, step number 9, if required, we use the scroll bar in the right pane to expose the stage directory, and we make double click it. So we scroll down, and in this stage we make double click. Step number 10, there is only one add-on file in the /stage directory. We highlight the add-on file with the .xpi suffix, and we click in the open button to select this add-on. Well, we scroll down the window and we may click on the open. Well, we get this message, this window, and we may click install at the caution window. So we say install now. Step number 12, okay, you will see that you might wait 20 seconds or so for the software installation window to appear, right? And step 13, we click restart now to restart Firefox and install the add-on. Okay, so the new modify header add-on is now showing in the list of extensions. So we may click on extensions, and in extensions you see you have the modify headers. Well, we click the preferences button to configure your headers for your upcoming REST requests. Ignore the signature verification caution mention. So we may click on preference. So step 16 about configure your HTTP header for basic authentication for the admin username with the password myoracle1 with M and O in uppercase and one number. When you make an HTTP request to an Oracle VM web service, you must authenticate as the admin user and provide basic authentication credentials, which are the username and the password. So in the select action drop-down list, we select modify. And in the header name field, we enter authorization. Authorization. Well, in the header value field, we enter basic. and the string, where this string is the base64 encoded string for admin column my Oracle 1. Note that the base64 encoded string contains the letter pipe, not the digit 1. I'm sorry, the letter Y, not the pipe, right? If you enter the encoded string manually, make sure that you type it correctly or you will encounter authentication problems in the next practice. You can find out how to obtain the base64 encoded string for admin column password in Appendix A for this lesson. You can also find websites that provide this encoding. Well, so here, about authentication, the header value is basic, and we type Y W R T A W 46 T X L P CM FJ BGU X. Well, I'm going to check again. Y W R T A W 46 T X L P CM FJ BGU X. Well, next step is to click Add to complete the modification to the authentication header. Well, should you get check in this way that you have a modify authorization basic with the base64 encoded password. The new header appears in the list and is enabled by default. You have a green dot. Well, we click the start button located in the top left portion of the window to start a header modification. So we may click on Start. Well, we close the Add-ons Manager tab in your Firefox season, and you are now ready to make some requests to Oracle VM Web Services from your web browser by using the REST API. And that's all for practice 2.1. Practice 2.2 access the Oracle VM Web Services API with RESTful services from your web browser. In this practice, you may request for information about your Oracle VM environment by using the RESTful API to interact with Oracle VM Web Services. The exercises that are performed in this practice are very simple, mostly retrieving information about objects that already exist in your environment. However, you can use REST or SOAP about objects that already exist in your environment. And you can use this for interaction with the Oracle VM Web Services API to control all aspects of your Oracle VM environment. Also, the RESTful interface and the SOAP interface are different. They offer the same access to the Oracle VM and your application and expose the same functionality. But remember that SOAP interactions are deprecated, right? Assumptions. The practice assumes that the Firefox web browser has been configured to modify the authorization headers that are sent when using HTTP requests. You need to complete the previous practice 2.1 to do show. What about tags? If you don't have active Firefox season, to Oracle OVM MGR 0.1.example.com. Perform the following steps. We get log with the command to the live machine as root, and we start a VNC viewer season. Remember, we do this with this command. All right. Now we get the display, and we need to start the Mozilla Firefox season from the OVM mgr01.example.com host. So we invoke it for Firefox, right? Well, step number 2, we issued a request for information about the OVM servers and virtual machines in your environment. This type of request corresponds to a GET HTTP request. So we use the following URI: https://localhost:/7002/ovm/core/wsapa/rest server. So we type this in the URL https://localhost 7002 /OVM /core /WSAPA /rest /server. Well, the list of the Oracle VM servers and their properties is returned in XML format. So we get the list about the OVS-ASBR02.example.com. This is a server with the unique universal identifier and some of the attributes about this runly, the BIOS vendor, the BIOS version, the type, and so on. Well, we press Ctrl+F keyboard shortcut to display the Find in-page search window. Well, if we scroll down, you see the Find in-page text. So we enter OVSBR02 in the search window to search information about this OVSBR02.example.com host. So you will see that we have the name, right? Note the ID for the OVSBR02.example.com. In this case, this is the ID, okay, that we have. To get information for a particular server, we use the following URI. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to scroll up, and here, okay, after the server, okay, we add a slash and we paste. Well, after that, we may click on go, and you get information specific for this OVSBR02.example.com server for this only. Note that you can copy the ID from the server information in the browser page and then paste to add it to the URI in the URL file, much like I did it before. Well, we use now the following URI to list information about the virtual machines in your environment. Well, we remove server and we type VM. We press enter. We're sending the request. The resource name is not recognized. The proper resource name is VM. Okay, you can query all types of objects by using the process shown in the previous step. However, you must use the name recognized by the API for the object. Note that keep this Firefox season open. Well, yes, this is normal. You see, it's not a VM in lowercase, it's a VM with V in intercapitalization. Well, in step number 3, we use the documentation that is available in the SDK file on the Oracle VM Manager installation ISO to find the list of resources that can be queried through the REST API. In particular, find a resource name for virtual machines. Well, we start an additional SSH to the OVM MGR 01 host. So we open a new terminal. Now we change to root. We provide the root password in the remote host. And now we use SSH OVM MGR 01. But remember, the password for this manager host, OVM manager host, is Oracle. Now we need to change to the stage directory. We'll list the contents. All right, and we need to mount the Oracle VM Manager installation file in this way: -o loop, comma, read only of the OVM into the mount directory. All right, well, I'm not going to execute because I was already mounted. So indeed, if you list now the contents of the mount for my demos, you will see that appear this content, right? This last character means that I cancel, but if you execute it, you see, you will get this, this is mounted. Now, if we go here, much like in step D, and we list the contents, okay, you will see it's right. Well, the OVM SDK underscore 3.4.2.1384.zip file contains information about the Oracle VM Web Services API. So we copy this file to the state directory and we uncompress it and with the mzip file. So we make a cp of the OVM into the stage. After that, we go to the stage directory and we uncompress with the unzip file, unzip utility, the file. Okay, after that, we could navigate to the doc API directory and we could find the index, the main page, to show us the documentation, and in addition to this, all the pages related about using RESTful web services or swap web services. If you don't have an active Firefox season to the OVM MGR01, we start a Firefox season from this host. If a Firefox window is already open, we use that window and open a new tab for the next step. Well, we could check this. And remember, here in the OVM MGR manager, we could open a new tab. And now we go to the menu file, open file, and we could go to the file system, stage directory, doc, API, and we select the index. Okay, we may click on open. Well, you will see that there are two main directories at this level, web services _r and web services _s. Also, both directories contain information for the SWAP and REST APIs to interface with the Oracle VM web services. The presentation of the information contained in the web service _s directory is your two programmers using the SWAP API, and the information contained in the web services _r directory is your two programmers using the REST API. Well, you may click on the index.html entry, or we open the file, you get this window. From this window, you can choose the documentation path for the type of web service API that you want to use. Well, we may click the Oracle Web VM Manager Web Services API specification. Link below the Web Services API via REST heading as shown above. So this is one. So on this page, you can access information for a specific resource. We scroll down to find the results for virtual machines. So if we may click in the VMRS, the resource name for virtual machines is displayed. You have the VM, virtual machine, right? This is the resource name that you can use in this step 2E. In this task, you use the information in the documentation part of the SDK file to find the names of the resources that you can query by using a simple HTTP GET request. The SDK file offers additional information that can be useful for programmers. In the documentation, the doc section of the SDK file, you can examine resources, the relationships between these resources, and the actions that you can trigger to obtain information about existing resources or to create new resources. The WSDL directory contains various web services description language WSDL files that describe the web services offered by the Oracle VM Web Services API. With WDSL files are used with SOAP-based services. The lib and resource and source directories of the SDK file contain the Java sample client source code and the Java precompiled client library. To obtain more information about the sample code, refer to the section titled using the Oracle VM Web Services client library and sample code in the Oracle VM Web Services API Developer's Guide. Well, we open a new tab in the Firefox window, and restate your HTTP GET request information about virtual machines and use VM as the resource name with initialization kept. So we open a new tab and we type https:// localhost 7002/ovm/core /web services APA/REST/VM. So now we don't get a blank page, we get a page with the information about the virtual machines display. Well, we clean up the system. So what we do is to close the Firefox web browser, all the windows, and we exit all the SSH sessions to the OVM mgr01.example.com. Note that this step is important because the modify header add-on is disabled when you exit your Firefox session. If you don't exit your Firefox session, you will get errors in the next practice about the timeout. So we scroll up, we quit from the Firefox web browser. In addition to this, we close any VM session that we open. We're able also to close the VNC viewer if you want. So mainly is to check that all has been disconnected. Well, you can also create new objects by using RESTful services with the Oracle VM WS-APA, or you can trigger an action such as discovering a new Oracle VM server. When you create new objects by using RESTful services, you must provide parameters for the request. For example, to discover an Oracle VM server, you must provide the IP or hostname of the Oracle VM server and the OVS agent password that you specify when you install the Oracle VM server. It is easier to provide this information programmatically by sending data as part of the request. You can encode the data by using the internet media types such as XML or JSON. For more information about using RESTful web services to access the Oracle VM on your application, consult the Oracle VM Web Services API Developers Guide. And that's all. Practice 2-2. Practice 2-3, access the Oracle VM Web Services API with RESTful services by using Python. In this practice, you use Python and REST interfaces to access the Oracle VM Web Services. Python is an interpret programming language because it does not require compilation. You can use it interactively like a shared program. After you start an interactive Python session, you progress through these steps: authentication, simple requests, display, and the results. Assumptions. This practice assumes that the request library for Python is installed in the Oracle VM on your host. The request library greatly simplify access to web services beyond the capabilities offered by the URL-led2 model. For example, you can set up basic authentication for REST services from within a Python program with just a few lines of code. But for the task, first of all, we need to log in your lab machine as root, and we need to start an SSH session to OVM mgr01.example.com. Well, we open a terminal and we prepare a terminal with Ctrl+Shift+, increase the size, and we change to root, for example. Okay, and after that, we connect with the OVM mgr01. Password is Oracle. Okay, now we have Python installed. With Python, for example, we are able to get the version, and we could work interactively invoking Python. You see, you get the Python shell script. Well, first of all, we need to import the requests library. After that, also we need to import the Objectify from another library. So from the LXML we are going to import the Objectify. Well, this one, we import the required libraries and modules. We start a request and set up basic authentication. So for the request, we create this object. Remember, we need to create a season. After that, for this season, we provide the authentication. In this case, is admin. The password, my Oracle 1. So we could print, for example, the information about the authentication. Sorry. So is this one, right? Note that the this print only show us the information that is contained in this authentication for this season. Well, in addition to this, we type as verify to check this, right? Note that the line s.verify equals false disables SSL certificate verification. If you do not disable the verification, the request in the next steps, for example, will fail. Step by default, we build the URI and send for content. So the base URI is this one, https://127.0.0.1:7002/OVM/core/WSAPA/REST. So now the request, it should be equals to the season in which we get the base URI plus /7, for example, with the authentication that we provided previously. Well, we type enter, so we get this message. Well, at the end, it gets about the authentication is strongly advised and so on, right? And we could check their response in step number 5 with print R. We're going to clean up this. So response is 200. Note that 200 is okay, which means that the requests were through. 401 means that you have an error authorization problem, and 404 means not found. At this point, you can display what has been returned without attempting and extracting or formatting. So we could print r.content. Well, you see that this output is in XML format. We extract some information from the return XML data. The Objectify IPA helps with the parsing of the XML data. It allows you to transfer XML data into a Python object hierarchy. What so to do is show, we type a root equals to Objectify dot from the string r.content. So now we programmatically create a loop for I in root.saba column print name is state dot format, we open parentheses, name equals I dot name comma state equals I dot server run state. We close the parentheses. Be careful that you see there is a 4 space indentation before the print statement. So you forget it. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, go. We check again, print between single quote, name between keys, is state between keys, dot format between parentheses name equals I dot name, comma, state space equal space I dot server run state. We press enter and we press enter again. So you see that we get the name of the servers, OVM server 1 and 2, and the state that is running. After entering the 4i in root.server line and pressing the enter key, the prompt changes to three dance signs, 2, 4 dots, 3 dots, sorry. On the next line, insert 4 spaces before the print line. Press enter again to exit the for loop. Step number 8, you can also process the read Python object through xml to obtain the XML output. So we type from xml.e3, we import the toString. Well, and now we print with the toString function. Step number 9 is optional. You can easily request other types of information, for example, information about virtual machines. So we type r equals s dot get base URI plus, and between single quotes, VM. Okay, next step is to print r. So we get that it's 200, it was successfully. Now with root is objectify dot from a string the r dot content, and now for I in root dot VM column 4 spaces print between keys name status is status, we close the single quote, dot format, and between parentheses name equals I dot name, comma, status equals I dot VM run state. We close the parentheses, we press enter, and we press enter again. So you will see that the iSCSI PVM1 status is stopped, the NFS PA1 status is stopped, and the OL6U5 template status is template. Well, remember or note that if the body of the request, the virtual machine object is VM with uppercase, the V as defined by the Oracle VM Web Service API. In the code to extract information from the return data, VM specifies the XML tag. Well, we press Ctrl D to terminate your Python session, and we use the exit command to terminate your SSH session to OVM mgr01.example.com. And that's all for practice 2.3. Appendix A, how to encode code credentials with base64 encoding schema by using Python. With the overview in this practice, you use Python to encode the admin credentials in the form username, colon, password for use with the modify header Firefox add-on. Note that you do not have performed the tags in this appendix. Well, we log into the your lab machine as root, and we start an SSH session to OVM mgr01.example.com. Okay, password is Oracle. And now we start an interactive Python season, and we import the required base64 library. And we encode the admin column my Oracle 1 and print the results. So after that, we print the authorization key and we get this, right? Well, after that, we press Ctrl D to exit from your Python season, and that's all for the Appendix A.